Where is home? Is it the place where we're born? Is it where we see ourselves retiring? For Jews around the world, Israel, the Holy Land, will always be the place we belong. Let us find your perfect home. Because we realize that purchasing property is just the beginning of the journey, and everything that comes afterwards can be a little overwhelming. Our team will hold your hand throughout the process. Legal services, opening bank accounts, organizing mortgages, project management and post-sales management of the property, including finding tenants and managing your apartment. You can trust that with over 20 years experience and backed by the biggest development companies in Israel, our team is focused exclusively on representing the unique needs of our buyers. Anything is possible, and we will make your dream a reality. Talk to us about finding and securing your future property in Israel.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's webinar. By way of introduction, my name is Nikki Rad, and I am the Marketing Director of Hold Real Estate. And tonight we are speaking about an amazing new development in a very brand new neighborhood in Beit Shemesh, Ramat Beit Shemesh. And we have an excellent panel here tonight to tell us all about this new investment opportunity, a little bit more about the area. But first, let's see, where are people calling or tuning in from? If everyone can just put where they're tuning in from in the chat box, that would be amazing, and we can say hi. Kfar Saba.
Nice and close to home.
Nice and close to home. Belgium, that's great. That's a new one for us. Johannesburg, welcome to everyone who's watching from Johannesburg. Let's see who else we have as people start joining. Great. So I'm just going to explain how we are going to run the webinar so everyone has a clear sense of how the evening's going to go. We have 4 panelists, and I'm going to be posing questions to each of the panelists. There we go, Ramat Beit Shemesh. And we will go through a whole lot of questions. We will take Q&A. You can post your questions and answers in the Q&A box, and we will be answering Q&A questions at the end of the evening. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome our first guest, who I've known for a very, very long time. We knew each other in Johannesburg, and Lindi Bar Chaim, welcome. You made Aliyah 13 years ago?
13 years ago, in 2009.
Amazing. I think it's important to have, in all our webinars, we invite someone who, number one, has come to live in the area from a different place, and we talk about their experience, which I'm going to be asking you tonight. Tell us a little bit about when you made Aliyah and why you chose this area.
Okay, sure. We came in 2009. Like I said, I had a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 6-month-old. We came because I was at my point in South Africa where I was afraid, and there were power outages, and I was afraid for my kids, and I just wasn't feeling comfortable living there anymore. And in truth, I really wanted to go live in Renana. I didn't want to come to Ramat Beit Shemesh. I was nervous, and I was afraid it was going to be too religious, and it wasn't going to be the right place for us. But my husband said he'd rather stay in South Africa if we're going to Renana, so this is our only option. And so I just took it because I knew that I had to leave. And like people always used to say, don't run away from something, you need to run towards something. And I really ran away from South Africa. I wasn't running towards Israel, but I came anyway, and it was very, very hard for me. I had a really hard time in the beginning. I cried every day.
And Lindi, tell us about the actual area, why you chose Ramat Beit Shemesh with your family. Obviously, coming from an English-speaking country, this was something you were looking for. You mentioned earlier, just before we started the way, you were looking for a more religious environment for your kids. Tell us about what Ramat Beit Shemesh was like 13 years ago as opposed to now.
Okay, so 13 years ago, when we came here, there were a few schools. There were quite a lot of schools, different hashkafic views in different schools with different different Torah or religious bases. So we came here because we wanted to be in a Torah community. And we knew other people that had lived here who were similar to us. And we kind of figured that we would be able to find a place and fit in. People recommended us to go and live in a specific area, Ramat Shilo, because the people that lived there were very much like us. And
so Ramat Shilo is actually very close to this new development. And you lived there for how many years? And tell us a little bit about the area and the people that live in the area.
We lived there for 11 years. It was a very nice soft landing for us. Most of the people that live there are New Orleans. I would say it's about 60% to 70% Anglos there and about 30% Israelis. And it's a mix of all different people that send their kids to all different schools on a similar level to where we were at and where we were sending our children. So we knew that it would be a good place for them to have friends. It's quite an American community. Most people come from New Jersey, or they come from, the women went to Stern University and the men were part of.
So it's like would you describe it as Dati Lumi type of area?
Yes, different
Okay,
families. There were like modern Haredi families and more Dati Lomi families.
okay.
And more of the scope of being more Dati Lomi, but also they had modern Haredi families there also.
And you were mentioning earlier that it's just, I mean, we've read articles about the absolute, growth of this area, Beit Shemesh. It was like 13 years ago, you said there was almost nothing there. And now you were saying you can't get an apartment, you can't buy a property. It's become just so popular.
No, everything is, as something comes available, it's taken. So it's very, very difficult to find something. And they say that the amount of people living here is going to double within the next 5 years. So every day it's growing more and more and more. You'll see New Orleans all the time. It's catered very much so to New Orleans. It's got amazing facilities for New Orleans.
Talk to us a little bit more about that, because you made Aliyah with 4 children. And I guess, the reason why people, gravitate towards cities like Renana, which are more inclined to being more Anglo, is the support that the schools give for New Orleans. Talk to us just briefly a little bit about, how easy was that absorption process for you?
Okay, so in terms of the school that I sent my girls to, everybody speaks English. Most of the teachers, if they're not Anglo themselves, then they're second generation, their parents are American or from, outside of Israel. So I've never had a problem having to speak to a teacher. The principal of the school spoke English, she was American. So in terms of that, it was very easy. Most of the schools here have an Olim program set up that the kids come in and they go to Opan, and they help, they get a buddy, they helped in every which way that they possibly can. When I came, it wasn't so set up, but now it's completely set up. Every school has something to help the kids. In terms of the adults, there's not so much an absorption process here. There are people that help you get your kids into school. I know there's a woman, Tammy Elimelech, she works for the area, who specifically helps people get into school. But the community itself, everyone here is Anglo and everyone here is in Olim, so everybody here helps each other.
Amazing. It sounds like an amazing place to live, and definitely a right move for your family 13 years ago. So Lindi, thank you so much for joining us. And if you can, I know you need to leave the webinar right now, but if you can come back for Q&A at the end, that would be great. For those people who do have questions for Lindi, you are welcome to put them in the Q&A, and we will get back to you with those answers. I think it's very relevant to be able to connect with someone who lives in the area, especially if people are thinking of making Aliyah with kids, and to particularly speak about this area which you lived in for so many years. So we really appreciate your time, Lindi. Thank you so much, and it's great to see you again.
Right, you too, Nick. Thanks,
Great. Bye. Okay. Wow, that was great. Thank you so much to Lindi. We're moving on now to Boaz Bitman. Boaz, welcome. How are you? Oh, I think you're on mute. We need your sound. There we
Okay,
go.
I'm with you.
Better.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, Boaz.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hello.
Welcome. We're so excited to have you on the webinar tonight, because I think to have the person who has created the vision for this new development and can tell us a little bit more about the location and the actual design and the thinking that went into this is hugely beneficial for people watching tonight. So do you want to start telling us a little bit about yourself and your firm, and then we can speak about the location and the area.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for the opportunity. And then again, I just want to share the screen, if I may.
Sure.
Okay. One minute, please. Okay, can you see the screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So first of all, good evening, everybody. And my name is Boaz Bitman, and our firm is named Bitman Ben-Tzur Architects. Actually, I was born here in Israel. I'm the 12th generation, by the way, in Jerusalem. And we are working. Our firm is 89, which is a lot of time, by the way. Passed very quickly. On the background, you can see some of our projects. We are dealing with this is, by the way, Alon Ben-Tzur, my associates. We are dealing today over than 12,000 units, mostly in Jerusalem.
Wow.
Hotels, yeah, hotels.
Wow.
We have like 2,000 square meters of offices and commercial, and we have a lot of experience dealing with religious communities.
Okay.
And with of their special needs. And by the way, these are some of our projects. Most of them are standing. So you can see our experience is, it touches a lot of
lots of different projects.
And it's only, it's only a small part, by the way. Amazing. We are dealing with 34 years. We do something. Now here you can see, you can see the yellow part.
I think you need to. We're not on the yellow screen yet, Boaz. So you're going to tell us a little bit more about the location now, as far as I understand. That's the next slide in your presentation. So I think we just need to go down. There we go. One more slide.
Okay. So here you see the location. It's very important because you have this from one side, you are very close to, of course, you're in Beit Shemesh. You are, you belong to the new area of the religious communities, which is very important because it's new and modern, and you are dealing with the total new neighborhood.
I think in your marketing material, sorry, Boaz, in your marketing material, you said, but between the mountain and the plain, which we can kind of see on the map here.
Between the mountain and the plain, yeah, Beit Shemesh is located between the mountain and the plain. You can see the road here to Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. You can see the road here, the blue one, towards Ashdod and Kiryat Gat. You can see the way to, for example, to Hadassah and Karem. From one side, it's located really in the middle of the nature, and on the other side, it's very near and very close to the main roads, which leads almost everywhere. So this is the major
I was actually at the project a couple of weeks ago to come and have a look, and I was just blown away by the beautiful views. And I imagine that was a big factor in why you selected this location, because it's on top of a hill. So the views are really spectacular. You really do feel like you're in nature.
You can see here when it's located. You can see the location of which really in the middle of the nature, which is beautiful.
Absolutely.
By the way, Yeah, the site chose me. I didn't choose the site. So.
Okay, well, we'll speak to the developers about why they chose the site in a little bit of time. But you're going to speak to us more about the vision of the design of the project. I know we know that the project consists of 7 buildings. So tell us a little bit more about that.
The location, not the location, the project. You saw the location. The project stands, you know, almost on the top of this great hill. Beyond the buildings, beyond the 7 buildings, there is supposed to be a huge park, a huge green park, public park, which actually almost like a private park, because we are the only one standing on this side towards it. And on the other side, you can see, of course, the road. Those 7 buildings, by the way, 14 stories each, is you know, it's also above a very nice and very modern commercial area, and all the, you know, all the things that needs to be, you know, like the parking area, and of course the garbage and everything is underground. You don't see anything, you just see a green all over, with a beautiful scenery, beautiful view. I'll just go.
Boaz, can you just going back to that image. You mentioned the retail shops, which I think is really important as well, because that's a huge, you know, plus for people who are coming or looking to invest in something. The fact that, you know, there will be some retail, some coffee shops. I believe each building is going to have, you know, a gym. Can you talk to us a bit more about the amenities and the sort of features of the building?
Of course, first of all, each building is a small community for itself. It has its own advantages for its own community, and all the 7 buildings are, you know, are a big community, which, you know, which lives together. And you have the advantage of going down, for example, for a small coffee shop or for a supermarket, without having the noise or travels from, you know, from the shops downstairs. A modern one, very modern.
And is that because of the way that it's designed? Because some people would say, you know, to have retail stores underneath it may be noisy, but
this is one of our expertise, because now we need to do in every project, almost in every project in Jerusalem, you need to put some commercial beneath the building, because they want to go back to the street as we remember when we were kids. Not under the big malls. They want to go when you have the street. It's very nice to go on the streets and you have some places
real community living.
Actually, you know, and you have also a physical connection between each building and the commercial area for the community of the building, and another entrance, another connection directly to the park. So each one can go very easily, you know, with the kids downstairs or to the park, and it's very, you know, it's very near, very close. Of course, each apartment, with no exceptions, has a mirpeset sukkah, and all the apartments are designed especially to the needs of the religious community.
So there's Shabbat elevators.
Of course, Shabbat elevators and sinks, and, you know, just name it.
Wonderful.
And we are really looking forward to start building it. You know, it's very exciting.
Yeah, I know that you in your further slides there are some layouts which I think it looks just incredible, and you can see the amount of thought and vision that went into this. And I think that comes through in the name of the project, Shilo 360, is that you really are trying to create a whole rounded experience for the residents who live here. And it just looks wonderful. So Boaz, thank you. I'm sure we'll have questions for you at the end.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being with us tonight. I know you have a very busy
inviting
schedule.
me. And
Toda rabah. We're now going to move on to Shimon Ben Luli, who is representing the developers of this incredible project. Good evening, Shlomi. How are you?
Thank you very much. I will tell a little bit of myself. I was born
Yes.
in Beit Shemesh, in the old city of Beit Shemesh 47 years ago. I was raised there until the age of 22. Then I go to Jerusalem after I was married. I was till 6 years ago, I was a lieutenant colonel in the Israeli army, and in the last 6 years, I'm management of a lot of projects, most of them in Jerusalem, and some of them is in Beit Shemesh. When we started this project 2 years ago, when we do everything, we think that we want to do something unique in this area. We go to this hill and we look around and we see all the view, and we say, here we want to do not like everybody is doing around us. We want to do something unique. And then a lot of people started to call me from United States, from England, and from another places all over the world. It was in the middle of the COVID-19. Everybody was at home. And then we started like now to do in the Zoom call with the people from all over the world. And then we hear that a lot of people want to come to Israel. Some of them want to make Aliyah, some of them want to invest in Israel. And then we decided that we need to do for them a unique project that will be good from them. Near to this, there is the Givat, there is the Ramat Shilo. This is a very big neighborhood.
Talk to us a little bit about the area and the real estate in the area.
That's what I'm talking
Right.
about. Near to this area, this is a neighborhood that called Ramat Shilo. In Ramat Shilo, this is a lot of people that is Anglo-Saxon, religious people, and something like this. Most of this neighborhood, they don't have a new building in this neighborhood. A lot of people from them come and ask, they say, our children is already growing up. We don't have place near to our places to give them to where to live. And maybe you will do something that will be a part of our community near to us, and it will be. In this area, we have a lot of schools. We have the yeshiva of Orat Torah of the Rabbi Boaz Mori, and a lot of people that is coming from abroad to learn them in this yeshivat there before the army or after the army. And most of them here after this is making Aliyah and staying in this area. So a lot of people, religious people that were looking for a community, and a religious community that is good for them, this is their area. They are coming for a community that already is there. They don't need to make a new community. They don't need to look for another schools or something like this.
It's already there.
It's already there.
Amazing.
And our project, when we started to think about our project, we said that we want to do something that it will be good for the people that we want to sell them these houses. Like Boaz said before, all these 7 buildings, all these projects is built like one big community. And we decided in every building, we have some common area that is belong to all the project. In one building, we have a gym. In one building, we have a club for the people. In one building, we have something like WeWork, that people that work from home can come there and sit there in the office for a meeting or something like this. In one building, we do a small rooms like clinics or something like this, that someone, in the first people that buy from us some of the apartments, some of them is lawyers, some of them is psychological, and something that they can work downstairs if they have a little room from this.
I think COVID made that so relevant for so many people.
I said that we started to think about all
the vision,
the vision when the COVID-19 started, and it, like we see now, the COVID-19 changed all what we know before. A lot of people is working from home. And when you are working from home, if you want to meet someone, and if you are working in something that you need to meet someone and you can't meet him upstairs in your house, you can go downstairs and you can meet with him. You have the gym, you have everything. You have, like Boaz says, we have a commercial area downstairs. So if you want to go to do your shopping, you want also to go down after you do your jogging in the park and to drink your coffee, you have everything.
A real lifestyle. You're describing a perfect day, a jog in the park and then a coffee. It sounds great. Shlomi, tell us a little bit about what you've seen in terms of real estate in the area. We've spoken about how, we spoke to Lindi and she said how she's seen Ramat Beit Shemesh and Ramat Shilo just changed so much after the years. From your perspective, give us a bit of an insight into.
I can tell you all the way that Beit Shemesh worked, because I told you I born in the old Beit Shemesh, and I see all the things that Beit Shemesh goes in all the last 40 years. Now Beit Shemesh is going to be one of the biggest city in this area. In 5 years from now, Beit Shemesh is going to be more than 200,000 citizens in the city. The new area of Beit Shemesh, of Ramat Beit Shemesh, on all this area, most of the people that come into this area is religious. And in the last few years, we see a lot of communities that come in from United States, come from England and from another places. A lot of Jewish Orthodox people that find their community in this place. They're coming to Beit Shemesh for a few reasons. One of the reasons that in Beit Shemesh there is a big community that is good for them, from the schools and the society and everything that they need. And Beit Shemesh is located in the middle between Jerusalem and between to Tel Aviv. They have a lot of them are working in Jerusalem, and a lot of them is working in Tel Aviv. We have from Beit Shemesh a train straight to Tel Aviv. A lot of people is coming in the morning, put the car in the parking near to the train station, and then go to Tel Aviv. We even can talk about it as in the train of 7 o'clock in the morning, one of the cabin of the train, they are doing a minyan. They have their minyan. All the people that are going to Tel Aviv, they are praying in the way to Tel Aviv, and they have their own community, even in the train on the way to work. In Beit Shemesh, we have in all this area, the prices is, if someone can look 2 or 3 years back, the prices go more than 30% up.
30%, wow.
30% up in all this area, and I think that they will go up more, because the land in this area is going in finish. We are building, another companies is building around us, and the land is finished. I think that in the future
it'll increase in value. And for sure, what we heard from Lindi is that, rentals, people are desperate to rent apartments for their kids who want to come into the area. So from an investor's perspective, to purchase in a development like this,
I can tell you that a lot of people are asking us from the community that now in Ramat Shilo, they have a big yeshiva there, and the yeshiva said to us, when you will when you will sell the apartment, tell us that we will talk with the people, with investors. We have a lot of people that looking for apartment in this area, and we will be glad to rent in this project. That I think that even for people that going to make this, that like invest, it will be good. But I'm telling to everybody, he don't know what will be in the future. He will have a home in Israel, and we think that Be'ezrat Hashem, in the future, he will come here.
Well, that is certainly the dream, I think, for many people to own something, not only to invest, but to eventually come and live here. Shlomi, tell us a little bit about the developers. I know, how long have you guys been around? What other developments have you been involved in?
Yes, our company called Mishkenot C belonged to two people, to Shimon Uzan and his son Yechiel Uzan. The brother from Shimon Uzan is the owner of the company of Achim Uzan. They built more than 3,000 apartments in Israel, most of them in the north and all over the country, a big company that building also here and also in another places. You can get inside the internet and you read Mishkenot or Brother Uzan or something like this, and you see all the projects that they have done all over the country. Shimon Uzan is a development more than 40 years, so he have a lot of experience in building all over Israel.
And when do you anticipate? I mean, you mentioned the construction has already begun.
Yes,
I saw when I went there, I saw the trucks and there's lots of activity already on the site. When do you anticipate this neighborhood to be complete?
Now we are staying in the stage of digging all the area now, because we have a lot of time to dig down, because all this apartment, we have to take all the hill and do the digging and dig down for the parking and everything that we need there. We think that we will get the permission to start the building. Now we have a permission to dig. After that, in Israel, you get the permission to start the building.
Yeah.
And we think that after we get the permission to start the building, 3.5 years from then, all this big project will be finished. We hope that we maybe finish before a little bit, but in the contract it will be written that it's 3.5 years from the minute that we get the permission to start the building.
Okay, wonderful. Well, Shlomi, I'm sure we'll have a couple of questions at the end of the webinar, but thank you for your presentation. It was definitely very informative. And I now want to welcome Yitzchak Steinberg. How are you, Yitzchak?
Hi, Nikki. How are you?
Good. Yitzchak, we work quite a bit with you. Do you want to just introduce yourself and introduce your company?
Sure. So my name is Yitzchak Steinberg, as Nikki mentioned. I'm a real estate attorney for the last, I could say, 2 decades. I, thank God, have my own office. I have another sole practitioner. I have a few lawyers that work under me. We do only real estate, nothing else but real estate law. We focus on representing especially foreigners involved in real estate transactions in Israel, because aside for doing only the legal work, there's a lot of difference in the mentality and the expectations, and part of our job is to deliver the different system and explain how things are working in Israel, so there will be a clear, the client will have a clear answer and a clear view and perspective about how things are being handled in Israel, in opposed to the way they're used to the place they're coming from.
So I think we're speaking a lot about COVID and how things have changed, and certainly within our business, and I'm sure you found the same thing. It's been a positive thing in the sense that people never thought they could buy property without actually being in the country where they're buying property, and yet we've seen over the last 2 years that many people have bought investments completely remotely. Tell us how that works and that part. You don't have to go into that much detail, but I'm assuming there's some form of way for us to open bank accounts for people, sign documents, handle all of that. Give us just a brief sense of how that works.
Okay, so as you mentioned, Nikki, prior to COVID, people were a bit more suspicious, and they actually wanted to touch and to get a sense of what they're buying. People insisted on coming and getting a real feeling of what they're buying. COVID changed the entire picture. I cannot really compare between the period pre-COVID and after COVID, or even during COVID, where people felt either it was in the States, because at the time there was also Black Lives Matters and other issues that made many Jews to come to Israel and to feel that this is their safe place. So as far as handling the transaction remotely, it's quite simple today. Power of attorneys are being signed by local notaries or by the Israeli consulate. Mortgages are being provided to foreigners without any issues. And opening bank accounts here in Israel, despite of the Israeli bureaucracy, it's relatively easy and it could be done. And thank God we're doing it, I could say, on a daily basis for clients from all over the world.
And you really, as the client's real estate attorney, represent the client's interest in the contracts. In other words, it's not the promoter of the property and it's not the developer. That's quite a tricky situation, I'm sure, for you sometimes. How have you found this, the whole experience of this off plan? Because it's a little bit different to buying something that's already existing. It's sort of a 3.5 year relationship that you're holding your client's hands through.
Well, it's quite challenging because at the end of the day, you have to deliver or explain a client that comes from either from the States or other places in the world about a process that they're not quite used to it. And by the way, you mentioned it just 3.5 years. It's even more than that. I mean, I have clients I represented 15 years ago coming back because they still have issues. By the way, one of the major advantages of buying off-plan apartments in Israel, that you have some sort of a warranty or a liability from the builder, and therefore the relationship keeps going even for 5 years, even after signing the contract. And yes, our position is to be in the picture before contract and after the contract, and even a few years ago. Hopefully, when we have to be involved after signing the contract, it's not a good sign. So we really wish for everyone involved that our involvement as lawyers, I would say people do ask for an advice, for practical advices or for financial advices. But as far as legal advices, we're in the process until the client receives the keys, and even afterwards, if God forbid there are some issues with the quality of construction or any other issues that comes up later on.
Great. Well, hopefully there won't be any of those, because we know that the developers of this project are outstanding. So thank you, Yitzchak, for being on the webinar tonight. And we will, just for all those who are watching, there will be a recording of the webinar, which will be sent out. We will also share all the details of how you can get in touch with Yitzchak and some of our panelists if you have some questions. Okay, and now we are starting to round up our webinar. It's been an overload of information, but I'd like to welcome Julian Nathan, who is the Managing Director of Hold. Hi, Julian. How are you?
Hi, how are you doing?
Good. Well, we also, for those who didn't see the video right in the beginning, could you just give us a sense of what is Hold Real Estate's role in this project?
So Nikia, it's got various roles, and really it starts with selecting the area, and then we find the project in the area, we identify the right developers, the development partners. But from there, and generally speaking, what Hold do is we hold the hands of clients through this process of purchasing. So we work with them on opening up bank accounts, working with their lawyer. I think it's quite an important point. Someone's actually just put into the chat box. What about the lawyer? Does he represent the developer? So Yitzchak's, although he's part of the team, he doesn't represent Hold. He doesn't work for Hold. He's completely independent. And him and other attorneys, they represent the investors. So there's absolutely no conflict. Yitzchak has no relationship whatsoever with the developers or with Hold. So I think that's very important to know. He would represent the investor. So we oversee the process of the banking.
So Hold, just to clarify that, Julian, Hold has a couple of attorneys or service providers that we recommend because we worked with them in the past, but it's not anything, they're not part of the Hold Real Estate team.
No, we've worked with the Yitzchak in the USA very successfully. He's got representation there. And, just one of the bank of lawyers who provide excellent services. So we oversee that process. Very importantly as well at the moment in Israel is the commercial opening up of bank accounts has become very challenging, but we have formed very good relationships with the banks here in Israel, where we are able to open up bank accounts remotely with power of attorneys. And when it's time for mortgages, we take out mortgages on behalf, we assist clients with mortgage advisors to take out mortgages on the property. There was actually a question in the chat as well. So as foreigners, once 50% of the purchase price has been paid, then banks typically will loan 50% of the purchase price, obviously with some terms and conditions that would apply. So we oversee that. We've also taken a very important role in actually assisting with the finishes of the apartment. So as the building gets built, tiles need to be chosen.
Because I've received some emails since I made Aliyah where I'm thinking, how do I even begin to do this? You know, it's when you're in a, you know, when you're dealing with a process in a foreign country, it can be very overwhelming. And even something like when it comes time to choosing the finishes, and there's such a beautiful array of finishes within this project, you're going to need someone on the ground to do that.
Absolutely. And we've got an interior decorator on the team who would then kind of have a conversation with the investor, what their taste is like, and then write it out into the apartment. And we also have project managers and engineers on the team. So they actually go on site as the project's being built to make sure that what's been committed to is delivered. We then do pre-delivery inspections of the apartment, and to make sure that, you know, there's the checks, that there's any problems that they get sorted out in the first year. And then we do post-delivery inspection as well. So a year later, we'll go back into the apartment and make sure that everything's been fixed. And if there's any other problems, to report that to the builder to make sure that it's fixed. So we take the process from start to finish and get investors involved in property here.
I know, Julian, we were speaking earlier about our experience of, you know, selling these type of new developments to clients overseas, and then a year or two later, like just seeing how great the investment was for them. We were speaking today about Harish, and we had a webinar not so long ago on Harish where people bought property, and it was just so great to see that article. So how many apartments do you manage on behalf of clients, or have, you know, what does your portfolio look like?
So at the moment, we manage over 170 apartments on behalf of clients around the world. Interestingly, at the moment, we've got 100% occupancy. So, you know, the demand for rentals in Israel is very strong. People rent until, you know, their mid-30s. They typically rent apartments. So the rental market's very strong. And I think, you know, one of the things that we do very well as well is we communicate back and inform customers and investors really on the status of their asset that they've invested in. So it's quarterly reports, it's pictures on a regular basis what the apartment looks like. So, you know, that's it. 170 apartment with a call center. We've got a call center. So if there's tenants have got any problems, they can phone into a call center. We then get it reported and fixed.
Okay, great. So now I'm going to ask a few of the tough questions, because I think we do have to ask tough questions on webinars. What happens if something goes wrong? So people put a deposit down and they secure their apartment. Obviously, it's a 3.5-year process until they get delivery of that apartment. And what happens if the developer does not, you know, if something goes wrong, or there's an issue with that? Can you just talk us through that process?
Yeah, I think good question. So there's two things. One is from a financial point of view. So the developers across Israel, in this case, you have to have a financing bank. So money that gets paid doesn't get paid to the developer, it gets paid to the financing bank. And those bank issue investors with a voucher. So it's a bank guarantee. So your money is secure. Your money is secure. So anything happens, ultimately, the banks typically will then make sure that the project's completed. But in this case, you know, we've broken ground. We started the building process. So not so much of a concern in this case. And then afterwards, you know, there are things, you know, there are cracks in their walls, there are things that leak. I mean, it's just the normal, but there is a law in Israel, and everything in the apartment is guaranteed for a different period of time. Okay. So within the first year, there's certain guarantees that are in place, and we'll be in touch with the developer, and they would come in and fix it. I mean, it's really that simple, but we oversee that process as well.
Okay, so that's part of our job.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit more about the commercials on this project and the actual opportunity, and why you spoke a little bit earlier, but elaborate a little bit more about why you like it. I mean, you've been in the market for a long time, and you've been dealing with overseas investors, and we most recently have been dealing with quite a few American investors who really like this area. So what attracted you to this project?
So I think, one of the things that we're always looking for is we're looking for new opportunities where we get into projects at a very early stage. Okay. So this is actually our third project in Beit Shemesh. And really why we like this project, because it's still an early stage of the development. But just a little bit more, about Ramat Beit Shemesh. It's just fascinating to see what's going on there. I know we've spoken about, doubling the size of the city. There was an article where they've announced that they actually want to quadruple the size of the city. So their plans to just make it 4 times as big as it is at the moment. So how that works is, firstly, that there's land to do it, which there is. But in this case, there's a city council that's been incredibly well run over the last few years, and they're invested into new areas. And what they do is, when they give the developers the rights to build, in particular Ramat Beit Shemesh, they develop the infrastructure at the same time. So in this case, because government has also seen a need for more accommodation for its citizens, they've actually also put money into this initiative of quadrupling the size. So that was very exciting for me when I was looking for another project, just to see that the city council, incredibly well run. They provide all the infrastructure, the schools, the shuls, the roads, the parks for its citizens. And governments have also actually started contributing towards this initiative. And I think also very importantly, at the same time as they plan also for, the employment opportunities. And, we've got a friend in Renana who actually works at Deloitte. And there was an article a couple of months ago about Deloitte, who now looking for diversification. So they're looking to open offices across various areas in Israel, and they've seen an opportunity, and they've actually started now employing and actually targeting at the ultra-Orthodox community. So they've opened up an office to employ over 300 people in Ramat Beit Shemesh, just because they've seen that there's a massive skill base in Ramat Beit Shemesh that don't want to leave. They don't want to travel to Tel Aviv. They want to remain in this area. And, so people like Deloitte's opening offices, I think, just make the opportunity.
Indicates a great opportunity. So many people are asking in the question and answer. So tell us, how much does it cost to secure an apartment? Give us the magic numbers.
So just in our chat earlier with Shlomi, I mean, it's really an incredible opportunity. At the moment, 7% is required. So a deposit of 7% is required. Now, very importantly, that money gets put into a trust account that's overseen by the investor's attorney. So that money sits in trust. It doesn't get touched. It doesn't get moved.
That's just to secure the apartment.
That's just to secure it.
Okay.
So that's in about 4 to 6 months' time, once the building permits have been issued. So at the moment, there's a permit to do the digging, which they've started doing. In 4 to 6 months' time, that gets topped up to 20%, so another 13%. Mm-hmm. And then there's various options. We'll try as best as we can, together with Shlomi, to accommodate the investors. But typically, you put down 7 now, 13 in about 4 to 6 months' time, perhaps one more payment during the period in a year and a half's time of 20%, and then 60% at the end. Now, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, that final 60% can be financed with a mortgage of 50% from the bank, subject to them obviously approving the mortgage.
Yeah, and I think what we're going to do is we're going to put a poll up now for those people who are interested and want to have a one-on-one meeting to answer all these questions in a little bit more detail. Please fill in the poll and we will get back to you. It's just popping up on your screen. And yeah, so a question that someone has asked is, how many apartments need to be sold before the building can take place? And I think the answer is that the building will take place. It's not like there's a sense that there have to be apartments sold before this is going ahead.
Yeah. So basically that, if I can call it, hurdle has been achieved.
Okay.
The financing bank's in place. The vouchers will be issued once there's a building permit.
Okay.
Will be in 4 to 6 months time, and that's then the money gets paid to the financing bank, and the vouchers and the guarantees are issued. So there's no risk to money, for your money once you're invested in this project.
Yeah. Okay. So I just want to go back to one of the questions. Boaz, if you could just please pull up your map again and just give a quick review for those people who are still wanting to just see exactly where this is situated. What I will do is we will send out a brochure, and with Boaz's permission, we will send out the map in his presentation for those who want to take a look.
By the way, you can share my details to Shlomi, and every question, even if not now, maybe tomorrow or later on. I'm at your service.
Perfect.
I'm going back to the location. Just a minute. Okay. One minute, please. Sorry for the technical issues.
No problem.
So first of all, for us which are not living in Israel, Beit Shemesh is located actually between the mountains and the sea, right in the middle of the way. And here you can see our project in a small red sign. It's really belong to Beit Shemesh, but it's actually a very new neighborhood which is located in the middle of the nature. You can see the road from here to Tel Aviv and to Ashdod and Kiryat Gat and to all over. Here you can see, by the way, again, the location from a satellite point of view. You can see it actually totally brand new and very green. I described before a huge park, which we are located actually nearby. It's a public park, which is actually related almost only for us. Any more questions?
No, I think that's good. Thank you. I am going to send out an email with the brochure so everyone can see, and those people who want a little bit more information, I'm sure we'll set up one-on-one meetings. I do, like Julian knows this about me, I'm a very, very punctual person, and I do like to finish the webinar on time. Julian, is there anything else you'd like to add before we close off?
No, just that Nikki and I are available for calls. I think it's an incredible investment opportunity. I mean, as Lindi was saying, everything that gets put onto the market, it's hard to find property in Ramat Beit Shemesh. It's a very buoyant market at the moment. And I think this is an incredible opportunity, both as an investment, as in a lifestyle for people that want to make Aliyah. So it ticks 2 boxes.
Agreed. It is the dream, like we said earlier. On that note, I just want to give a big thank you, shout out to all our panelists who came on tonight. Thank you for your time. I know it's not easy at this hour in Israel to take off time from your family. So we really do appreciate it. And I'm sure our viewers also appreciate it. So thank you very much. And I just want to read one comment and give a shout out to one of our clients who are on the webinar tonight. And he said, I recently bought a property through Hold and it was the most pleasant experience. But more than that, I was guided to what turned out to be a very good purchase. Arnold, thank you for the shout out and the comment. We appreciate the support. So I just wanted to mention that. And with that, I want to mention, or rather not mention, wish everybody a Shana Tova and Chag Sameach for the upcoming year. And please God, this project just should go from strength to strength. We're going to end off tonight with a short video. Thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Laila Tov. Thanks, Shlomi.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.